Alright, just about finished the retop now. Just about to import it back into Zbrush and project, all the previous sculpting sort of information I had. Just getting some tunes. Might got something light today, maybe a Def Havana. It's always cool. Alright, just gonna load up the old Sculpt. Scrab roof. Just check that out. I actually downloaded some matcaps. Don't know if they're any good. That's pretty cool. Forgotten what the shit one was called now. Guess quite like that one. Sort of built-in highlight. Pretty nice. But I was just browsing around the Pixologic website, and there's quite a nice sort of collection of matcaps if you're interested in checking some of those out. So yeah, I like that one. That's pretty cool. What else we got? Mirage. That's okay. Maybe for when you're doing some sort of smoother stuff, but that's pretty radical. Yeah, I'm going to sculpt with this one. It's pretty awesome. We'll just import my retop. Did body first. Import his leg as well. Very awesome. Okay. May as well get rid of that for now. Don't need you anymore. Just gonna append these. Let's move that back to the top. Okay. When you do projection, always make sure you've got the just the model, just a mesh, sorry, that you want to project. Turn all the other subtools off. Otherwise, it's going to try and compensate for them as well. Yeah. Right. We turn off smooth as well, like we did last time. And then just gonna. Yeah, this is quite a few problem areas coming through. Just going to try and smooth some of these out. Got some spikes. I don't know if it's because I'm just so low at the minute, so let me just turn that back on a sec. Yeah. Alright, let's try and solve this problem a little bit that I'm having. I'm just going to start to really sort of be a bit specific about the mesh underneath. Just using move tool to just pull around the mesh that I retopped underneath. Just so it's sort of a bit, so it's floating above the surface a little bit. And we'll see how it reacts to the projection after I've just pulled it around a little bit. It's a funny thing about doing projection, like always, results can be a bit weird sometimes, but yeah, it's definitely worth it. Most of the time it's just a little bit of this, just a bit of moving around in that. Not too major. Alright, let's project what we got now. Let's go solo. Still a bit of problems. Actually, I'm going to turn on smooth now. See what we can get from that. Project. See what we get from that. It's starting to take a bit of shape now. You just smooth out these areas. Yeah, they're not really problems really, it's going to take a few seconds to smooth them out. You know, it's totally worth doing just for the, you know, the topology that you get out of it. And if you didn't know this trick, when you press the smooth button and you start to smooth, if you let go of the smooth button while it's just smoothing, it switches to a different algorithm, and I don't know, it seems to be I don't know, it works a lot nicer sometimes, you know. I mean, smoothing can, I don't know, it just sort of ruin certain areas sometimes, but I don't know, it seems to be a bit harsher and a bit easier to work with sometimes. Just a thought, you know, just food for thought. You know, if you were, you know, smoothing sometimes and it wasn't, you know, giving you what you wanted, just try and use that different algorithm. I'm assuming that this one is going to push out those areas that I just smoothed in again, but we'll see. Yeah. Alright, yeah, I'm sticking with this. I was just making a mind if I should just go down to the other subdiv level that we had, but I'm just going to smooth these out, and it shouldn't take too long to, you know, go in with clay tubes. And you know, once I start giving this a bit of TLC, it'll be fine. Just gonna check, does it lag more if you use different? Nah. I don't know, I was just wondering if this mat cap was, I don't know, just some experience with quite a bit of lag. But yeah, that's pretty cool, pretty nice. And once again, I can switch all the way down to this uber low res version, which is pretty beautiful. I'm just going to push that to the top now and get rid of you. And I'm going to rename this just Scrab Retop Sculpt. Just because when I save it, it's going to say under that name. Just, yeah. Alright. Selecting the retopologized like, and just need to put on the one underneath as well. Turn off smooth. Project. Do I project? Getting some spiking. Oh shit! One thing that I forgot to do there. Yeah, I was pretty lazy on this. I forgot to close the hose in Maya. Let's just delete that hidden. Close his hose. Sorted. Yeah. Right. That bottom leg doesn't really matter that much. Let's just go solo, so I can see what's going on a little bit. Actually, let's get some smooth going in there as well. That was pretty nice. Doesn't matter, that bit here doesn't matter, it's going to be hidden. That bit matters a little bit. Let me just pull that back out. I really do like this mat cap. It's totally just free as well. So I've never really played around, you know, with different, you know, shaders and stuff. in Zbrush. So yeah, it's not bad for a freebie. Alright, cool. Just gonna get rid of that leg. And yeah, cool, pretty much ready to sculpt now. I'm just going to solo off the body for now and just start to, I forgot to put the image on, didn't I? Right, let's save this out as well. Say it's picked up that name that I renamed. It seems to rename the first subtool. Let me just import that image. I have to switch back to Matcap Gate as well, because when you import images, it takes the material you've got selected into consideration. So say like if I had that cool matcap that I was using, and I imported this, it'd go it'd go to the same colour that matcap is, which is irritating. But matcap, yeah. I'm just gonna draw that back out. Cool. All right, let's sculpt on this thing now. Modding quite a high amount of polygons here. I'm on 600,000. So I'm going to start to lasso tool. I've always enjoyed that. I'm going to work on the torso for a bit, mainly upper body. Get that head out of the way. I'm just using, the typical clay build up. I'm just trying to figure out this bit here now. But this process now is probably the longest process of making the character, is just really finalizing it and just trying to get all the detail in there looking nice. And how it should be. But I'm only going to do a little bit, so I can just don't have to worry about video lag and all that stuff. I can just really concentrate on getting this done. So I'm going to film a little bit for you if you're interested. If not, just skip to the overview. I usually put up a timing on the description of the video where I've completed like a sort of milestone. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Sculpting the wonders. Whenever I do creatures, I always seem to go for this sort of like, I don't know, it's just, the only thing I can describe it is just like boiled skin or something. The skin's like really tight around these forms, and it's got all these bits, just being like pulled along its surface, and it's pretty gruesome. But I find it to be, when I'm making a monster, I want it to be gruesome. I don't want someone to, like a creature, I don't want someone to feel like they can relate to it too much, It should feel alien to them. It should be, I don't know, just something that they've never seen before. And that's sort of my philosophy on making monsters. Just try and, I don't know, just really push the details on it in terms of making it look unique. I found as well that you should sometimes really pull back your model when you're working on it, because sometimes you're working like uber close, it's a bit hard to sort of understand how the details are going to work at a distance, because ultimately that's what most people, are going to see. They're not going to get their magnifying glass out and examine the model as you're doing when you're working on it. So yeah, just try and keep a sort of I guess it's sort of perspective on your detail, which I've found pretty difficult to do in the past. I've just always got completely lost in my own little world of what this model is when I'm working on it this closely and for that long length of time, and it often just ends up looking like a pile of spaghetti or something. I'm actually going to go the other way on that. It's looking a bit better now. Try and use the move tool quite a bit as well. I found that sometimes when you're sculpting, your mesh can get kind of warped sometimes, so like in different angles and perspectives and stuff. So wow, this shader is really nice. You can really see all the lines due to the highlight that's been built into it. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Just trying to make his chest a bit more sort of pulled out. Just try a bit more weight in the skin. Give him a sort of like an overdeveloped muscular chest. They usually sort of hang quite steeply. Right. Yeah, it's looking a bit nice. I think the cavity is a bit too deep. As is that one. Yeah, this is the time to be really sort of critical about your work, It's a time to get serious. pulling out some of those interesting lines in that back drawing. Not sure what I'm going to do with his spinal cord. It's looking a bit plain at the minute. Maybe section it off or add some sort of gaping skin all over it, I don't know. Maybe just re-add these abs in. The one thing I did notice though, towards the end of my last sort of video, is that the bottom of the abs need to be pulled in a little bit, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know, I just felt like that bottom of the bit of the torso is a bit too wide, but I like how this sort of pelvic area is looking, so I'm just going to sort of, you know, probably going to have to be very careful with what I'm doing this here. I don't want to destroy what I've got going on. But I want his abs to look kind of tight. They actually kind of dip in to his body a little bit on that drawing. But I'm trying to keep a very nice sense of weight because it looks like he's leaning back. You know, like, you know, when people have really good posture and, you know, their shoulders are sort of like pushed back, it looks like it's going for that sort of feel. Which is where move tool comes in useful. You know, it's kind of warping sometimes. Just, you know, just how sculpting sometimes sort of warps the surface a little bit. Move tool just sorts it out instantly. It's nice for getting all those specific skin details in. I'm just thinking about how this is attaching to his lower body, and, you know, there's a bit there where it's sort of like a bit skinny. Let's get some sort of belly button going in there. Area is a bit weird. And on the actual drawing though, it just seems to be like, I don't know how these are going to sort of work yet, especially this area that's coming up here. Might go for that sort of like pelvic muscle area where, on males, you know, like they have that V like near their dick. It's sort of like, it's very close to the bottom abs. Kind of just slowly build that up. Might use some trim dynamic on that bit just to sort of smooth it out, get the forms back in. But this bit here didn't matter too much. That's just going to be where the socket for the leg is. As long as it's a snug fit, it can just be anything in here. That's an area that will never ever be seen, unless you want to remove his limbs, which isn't uncommon really on most video games, ever since Fallout 3. It's kind of deep in there. Just gonna brush around. Yeah, I just need quite a bit of fixing. This sort of, I don't even know what to call them things. They are pretty weird. I think it's too round at this point. I think the shape of it's it's got like a bit more of an edge to it. You know? Yeah, I have to be really specific and mask that area out there on, and then just sort of sculpt into it. Just do some of the head. The head is already looking pretty decent. You know, I sort of did quite an accurate sort of sculpt on here previously, so there's not too much to fix. Yeah, I mainly just need to think about what sort of details I want to get out of this bit, and you know, what sort of surface is it going to be made out of. So I got the impression around here it's going to be some sort of shell-like material, you know, quite hard, quite beak-like. Which is where move tool once again, so I can sort out just the curvature is, make it nice and smooth, streamlined. And I'm just making up these neck muscles as I go along. kind of fill that in a little bit. So I know these don't dip in that much. Might as well finish them, come down there, and start to add that sort of awful skin kind of look. I don't know, I can make it look sort of tight, like there's a sort of specific shape underneath there. It's always cool looking. Yeah, it's a lot nicer, smoother now. Pretty much solved all the problems I had from projecting, but yeah. Quite a lot to do on the beak though. Got to make these claw things come out of there. Got to figure out where I'm going to put all the teeth. Is he going to have a tongue? You know, doesn't look like he does. Just on that one. I was considering making an epic version as well, but to be able to put you know, more limbs onto this when I finish sculpting it, I'd have to probably re-sculpt all the detail in. Just because I'd probably have to use Dynamesh or something to, you know, add limbs on that are actually attached to the topology of this mesh. So I don't know if it's worth doing. Obviously, if I was making this commercially for the actual game, I'd probably have no choice, but I do have a choice, and I'm probably not asked in doing this model twice, pretty much. I just feel that, you know, putting these limbs on as separate pieces, you know, is a bit shit. It's too cheap. You know, it'd have to be all on the same mesh. But you know, this pass or sculpting, what I'm doing right now, is literally, it's really rough. You know, I'm just going through and I'm correcting mistakes, and you know, I'm just setting myself up for the next stage. I like to do detailing in stages, really. And I just find it a bit easier to manage. You know, and the model as a whole gets some sort of TLC on it, you know, and I don't end up focusing on one specific point, which can be pretty bad sometimes. Yeah, that's pretty much it for like fixing the body up. That's just, yeah, can really sort of go to town right now, and get all the tiny detail in there. Well, it's the leg as well, but you know, I don't really need to film the leg. It's pretty much the same process for this, and yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. So yeah, save. Let's get rid of that for a sec. Stop. Right, it's not finished yet, but I just wanted to do a quick update. The detailing process has changed a little bit during this. I found out I just did this new alpha that works pretty awesomely for doing skin detail, but this is what it's looking out in the minute. You know, just my typical skin style kind of look. Only done the head so far. I'm not too sure on these hard surface areas yet. They look a bit, I don't know, a bit cheap at the minute, so probably going to pull up some reference of like shells and stuff and try and emulate the surface of them. But the only difference I've done to my detailing sort of brush, it's just clay build up, completely default settings, I haven't changed anything. But I've been using this Alpha 12. Let me just find an area that I can work on. I'll just do a bit more on this sort of neck area. Quite a bit of video lag, so but I don't know, just with clay build up and stuff, it seems really sort of effortless, you know, just the way that, well, I guess it's just the sort of look that I want to achieve. I don't know, it's because it has like a big area where it's pushing down on, you know, and it's the sort of soft edges on it as well. Just really sort of gives you that skin detail. Pretty gruesome. But you know, I can be really fast and just like I don't have to go over areas like 10 times, you know, like I was doing with the square alpha brush and stuff. But I don't know, it makes a very sort of nice organic sort of finish to stuff. But I will be going over with the slash free as well. I think I might try that. The only difference I made to slash free is I've lowered the intensity, so you know it's a bit less destructive. But I don't know if this is going to be, you know, too much. Well, yeah, just too much small details, you know. I don't know if it's even going to look good from a distance, because I've been trying to pay attention to what my model looks like, you know, from a good distance away. I might just use slash free to, you know, push in these sort of inside areas. Yeah, I haven't really experimented with slash free that much, but I don't know. What alpha is it? Alpha 12 and clay build up seem really nice. I think slash free is pretty only good for like really sort of specific areas where I want to create the illusion of, you know, the skin being a bit tighter. I don't know, I'm going to try and be pretty conservative with this brush, as it can kind of ruin your model sometimes. Yeah, but this shader, or matte cap, is really cool. It's such I don't know, it just makes sculpting that much more enjoyable, you know, because it's got, I don't know, it's very easy to sort of see your detail, if that makes sense, you know. I mean, you switch to some shaders and, you know, it's really hard to tell, you know, what's up and what's down kind of feel. But yeah, with this shader, it's nice. This area is a bit weird. I might flatten it out, I don't know, I was just experimenting with different sort of hard surface themes. Yeah, it's going okay though. My own unique version of the Scrab. I don't think it sort of reflects the concept that much anymore. Only the sort of major forms. But that's cool. I like adding the personal touch and stuff. But I did find it was like a sketch, and it sort of it had a very sort of cool colour range about it, you know. So I'm probably going to use that for the poly paint, which I'll show you when I reach that stage. But that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Need to add in the teeth, but yeah, I'm quite happy with how the detail is going. It's got some nice suggestive areas and stuff. Probably look a bit cooler with the teeth in there and these little horns that come out of that one. Yeah, still got a way to go though. Got to figure out, I'm quite interested to do this. back area. Yeah, it's gonna be nice. We're gonna have quite some big kind of looks, you know. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool, man. That's pretty much it. The next video, I'm not going to post another video until the sculpting phase is pretty much done. But you know, that's pretty much all I've been doing. It's just using clay build-up with Alpha 12 on, and then just really, you know, refining what I've got. The thing I like about this kind of stuff, you know, that gruesome sort of skin look, is that it can never be cheated. You know, like with some hard surface stuff, you know, the Pixologic have built some really specific tools to help out in that way, especially these new versions. Like there's some brush where you draw a line out and you can just create like entire rows of zippers and stuff like that. But you know, you can never really, you know, like have a piece of code that generates this detail, because it's so personal, and that's what I like about it. You know, you can only sort of do this detail from exploring the brushes and, you know, just practicing. Like, you know, I just really, I don't know, I experiment all the time. That's the thing. It makes every single model interesting, because you have to make up and figure out all these different lines and stuff. So yeah, it should be nice when it's done. This, I've got a good idea for the final render. It's gonna be a bit better than the shark, as it's themed, being a monster and all. You know, I can have some blood and stuff. You know, having some dramatic pose with, like, I don't know, some corpse underneath it or something. But yeah, it looks pretty cool, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. Quite excited as well. Once I've done the sculpt as well, I'll show you how I usually present my models, because I'm going to do I don't know, these typical I guess orthographic sheet where it's like different angles, but I've seen a lot of people when they do that, it looks really boring. You know, I'm definitely going to use this matte cap. Yeah, I mean, I might just have to press render with this matte cap. It already looks pretty nice, and just do a highlight pass. But yeah, I'm pretty much done. This video is coming on pretty nicely. Let me just PC is lagging quite a lot. Alright, cool.